Hello, Artemis. Thank you so much for joining me. This is my second round of questions, and it's for the series that I want to call Fierce Oily Love. And when I think of Fierce Oily Love, I think of you. And I wanted to bring you on board with this because you are the second person I really met on my own journey with Young Living. And it was at a day workshop event in Melbourne. And I didn't know what Young Living was. I'd been briefly introduced and I'd been invited along to this day, and there you were. And I was mesmerized. So Artemis, you have been with Young Living for so many years. I think it's more than 20 years.
Yeah, 21 and a half years now, Sidsel. It's been
it is. And we have just celebrated you reaching Royal Crown Diamond. Yeah. And in your honor, I have a little tears.
Oh, thank you.
That was such an amazing, amazing achievement. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, so how, I mean, to keep this short, how do I know you? So at this event, I remember you, some of the things that stood out was, I remember you telling me about the Valor blend, or explaining about the Valor blend, and you had it in your pocket to keep it warm, I think, and using the toothpaste for deodorant, and also about your experience. You were also explaining about how Young Living had a farm and a big, beautiful wellness center in Ecuador. So these are some of my first impressions from you. And I've since then, you are a beautiful mentor to me. And I've done my Egyptian emotional clearing training with you. I've attended your event at Symposium in Australia. I had the pleasure and privilege of assisting you when you ran your Egyptian emotional clearing training here in Denmark. So I have been blessed to, have you in my life and learn directly from you. So that's for the people who are jumping on board. That's how I know you. But what I would like to know is, why are you in this? So as I said, we've just celebrated you reaching Royal Crown Diamond. What is that?
Okay, I'm going to flip this around.
Yes.
Because to me, reaching Royal Crown Diamond, whilst it's a special thing to happen in Young Living, it's really a symptom of the fact that I love our oils and our oil-infused products. I love them so much that 21 and a half years after starting with them, I am still discovering new things and passionate about helping people with them. So Young Living isn't a business to me. The business is almost like the natural outcome of loving Young Living. Young Living is a path for me of changing people's lives every single day, and changing animals' lives as well, because as you know, one of my passions is working with animals with oils, not just with big and little people. So my first experience, so how I came to Young Living, was already using essential oils, other brands. I wouldn't say I was a huge fan of essential oils. I just thought they were pretty nice, and I had a few different recipes I used with them. And I was looking for something to support me in transforming something in my own life. And it was just one of those things. Synchronicity happened and Young Living crossed my path. And I got given, in those days it was a cassette, I was given a cassette called The Missing Link to listen to. And it was Gary Young talking about essential oils. And I listened to it, and it really sparked my attention because he was talking about oils in such a credible way. He was talking about the science, he was talking about the research. And I remember thinking at that time, wow, I didn't realize essential oils were so credible from a scientific view. Maybe this is the thing that I've been looking for. Maybe this is the perfect thing coming in at the perfect moment. And I know so many people that are like that, you know, Young Living crosses our path at the perfect moment when we really need something to happen. And there it is, you know, almost like on a platter for us. So I did what a lot of people do in that situation. I went, okay, I'm going to try some. At that time, we didn't even have an office in Australia. Their only office was the United States. So I started ordering from there. And I remember from my very first oil that I got, I was having mind-blowing experiences with these oils. And the scientist in me came out and went, holy crap. What is it with these oils? How come they are so different to everything else I've ever used? I have never seen anything work so fast, so effective. And I'm a Gemini. I collect modalities and tools. So at that time in my life, I had studied many different things and I would integrate them in my work with my clients. So I was, you know, I'd already felt that I'd studied some of the best techniques, and I had never seen results as quick and as effective as what I was getting with Young Living oils. So that was the hook, if we want to say that. I was like the little fish. The hook came down and I got hooked, quite literally. And that, I mean that in the most positive way, because it was, I think that for each of us, there's that defining moment where we go, wow, I just had an amazing experience. Wow, that was because of these oils. Wow, maybe these products could help me in other areas of my life, or maybe they could help other people. So that's how I got started. And I love that now, 21 and a half years on, I am still almost every single day learning something new, trying something new, experimenting, having wow experiences that touch my heart. And I think, what an amazing journey to be this many years into it and still as alive and as passionate about these products as I ever was when I started.
Yeah. And that's what I find, that, I mean, that's, you know, that's similar to how I find, like, there is something, like you say, there is something that flips the switch for you. And it is this, I think that's also why I got into it. I'd finished becoming a yoga teacher and I'd sort of delved into the more esoteric side of things, but also, you know, founded in science. And again, that's why I think I was like, there is something to these oils. I'd read an article about, you know, a good rule of thumb is if your essential oils come from something you would normally eat, well, then why shouldn't they be safe enough to put in your food? So, or that's sort of an indicator of quality. And so again, I think that's also why I really resonate with you, because you have this absolutely fascinating insight and connection with the things that aren't so tangible, and at the same time so incredibly grounded in science and fact. And that's, again, credible. I love that you use the word credible, because that's sort of what makes it real. It's like, okay, yeah, there's something about this, which sort of leads me to my first question on my list. Oh, my second question. It's was there an oil? So for you, it sounds like it was almost this cassette that did it for you. Do you remember if there was an oil that, or what was, if there was a particular oil or product or something that gave you that sort of the first mind-blowing moment?
I mean, the first 3 months with Young Living, I actually remember what I ordered each month.
Oh, so wow.
Month 1 was Emu Power and Clove. and I had phenomenal experience with Emu Power. Totally non-compliant, so I can't tell you what And then the next month was Abundance and Awaken oil. And when I used Awaken oil on my pillow, I remember sleeping so well and waking up in this state of absolute bliss. It was beautiful. And when I put Abundance oil on my wrists that very first day, 3 things happened for me. Someone had owed me quite a bit of money and had not paid it. And I'd in the end thought, I'm never going to see this money, and had written it off as a bad debt. And a check for the full amount arrived that day. I also got an extra booking in my course. So I was running a psychic development course, and I already had the minimum number of people I needed to cover costs. So extra bookings were just money in my pocket. That was profit for me. So that happened. And then I went to buy something that I needed, and I found out it was on special. So I saved money. And at the end of that day, I was like, wow, I realized that I bought Abundance oil, and I actually hadn't expected it to work. I bought it thinking, oh, this will be nice. I'll put this on. This will make me feel good. And when I actually saw these results with it, I was mind blown. And my 3rd month was what we called the Essential 7 kit. And that was, nowadays that's very much been replaced with the Premium Starter kit, which has even more oils in it. But the Essential 7 kit was just a collection of our most popular essential oils. And I got that, and I had, again, really outstanding results, many of which I cannot tell you about.
One day.
But I guess the thing about that is just to say, there's some really great research books out, really great books out there. There's really great information online. When you get your oils, just go study them, go and find out. And very often I'll actually, even now, I'll choose an oil intuitively, and then I go and look for the research to understand why did I choose that.
Yeah.
So lime oil has really been calling out for me. Diffusing today for me is lime and citrus fresh, which is not usual. I normally, for my diffuser, I would normally use something like transformation oil, which I absolutely love in the diffuser, or purification. But today it was lime and citrus fresh. And I just know when I research lime oil, there's just not enough information there. And I know there is so much more to this oil than what meets the eye. And the scientist in me is like, come on, why is there not more for me to put my fingers on? But I just know it's a magical oil, and I know that there's going to be more discovered about it that will explain why it's special. Yeah. I found myself tossing up between lime and lemon, and my intuition was so clear, go lime, go lime. It's not lemon you need to use, it's lime. And it's like, why? So it's so exciting.
It is, and it's sort of like you get to play and learn and feel better all at the same time. Yeah, it's funny because for me, you mentioned, but I think of you and I think of abundance. Like Artemis is abundance oil. Like it's just, there's always things you relate to people, and for me, it's always abundance. And it's one of the oils that I didn't like so much in the beginning, and I've sort of apprehensive about, and I've had bottles of it for years, and I've put it in our new house. I've painted the walls, and we've put abundance oil in the painting or in the paint. And the guys who are painting our place are just like, what is this? What do you want me to do? Just to do it's energy stuff. And like abundant, it's like, yeah, energy, it's energy stuff. Okay, sure. Just dropping it in like crazy lady.
I've had my painters just about wet their pants when they see the colour of abundance oil going into the paint, because abundance oil is like this weird, like blood red, orangey red colour. Yeah. And so here we are with this beautiful, because I've been using it in my paint, usually about 40 drops in 4 litres. So I'll usually do 20 drops of peppermint for the smell, the odour of a frequency oil like abundance or joy. And so the painter, you know, he starts to put the abundance oil in, and you're seeing this deep blood red going into the white paint. And he's like, "Are you sure this is okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, trust me, I've been using it for 21 years, or almost 21 years in paint. It's fine."
Yeah. I'm just like, oh God, crazy ladies.
They still look beautiful, and they still have amazing frequency.
Oh, it's crazy. It's also with the diffuser, like there'll be days, and in this, when I was living in Australia, I didn't use my diffuser as much as I did here, and as I am here. But people would still, they would comment, they would come to my house and be like, "Your house smells amazing." And there's nothing that I wasn't diffusing. I was maybe wearing oils, but even still, it's like it's in the air. Like it stays there.
And I think I just wanted to say that's one of the things I realize, like, as you know, we've got the Thieves line of products that are like based on Thieves Essential Oil, which is inspired by a story of 4 thieves in medieval Europe. So we've got this incredible spicy blend of oils called Thieves, and then we've used that as the foundation for this whole range of household products, which includes things like laundry detergent, so laundry liquid. And what I noticed is I used to use really good natural brands of laundry detergent before Young Living had one available. So I would use that. And I always felt like I had to add extra oils in. And as soon as I added, like I put maybe 20 drops of purification in with the detergent or the liquid. And as soon as I did that, and my clothes came out and they felt and they smelled beautiful. And I noticed that once Young Living released the laundry liquid, I haven't needed to add extra oils in. It's like the frequency of my clothes is already there. And it really showed me the power of the frequency of our oils. So that frequency is on our body, in our hair, in the air of our homes. You know, it's through the floors, it's on our plates as we're eating. So if you think of the frequency of nature being like a blessing, it's like the floors we walk on are blessed, the clothes we put on our body are blessed, the food that we put in our mouth because we've prepared it with some essential oils, it's blessed. So I just use that as another way of thinking about frequency. So
that
suddenly,
is beautiful.
Yeah, so suddenly it's like everything we're doing has got a blessing to it. You know, we're putting cream on our face that has got essential oils in it, so we're blessing our face as we do that. You know, every step is a blessing. And in our world today, you know, what an intangible but magical thing to bring into our life, to bring blessing into every aspect that we're doing. And that's why, for me, the Young Living products literally have infused my whole house, my whole life, all of my friendships, or virtually all of them. I think I can only think of one friend in my whole spectrum of friends who doesn't use Young Living oils. You know, everyone else has ended up going, I want to get some.
Yeah.
You know, that's incredible. All of my family are using the Young Living oils. It's just, it becomes a vibration that just attracts people to it, and it becomes a playground where we meet so many incredible like-minded people as well. So blessing, that would be my word for Young Living.
It's really interesting. And you also talk about anointing yourself with oil. So you create, and it's something that I think we've lost. And I think that's also why people, you know, they practice yoga, like this idea of mindfulness. It makes us more mindful, and that's becoming more popular, mindfulness practices, and becoming more aware. And it's not just, you know, rubbing it on, you know, drip drop wherever, splash splash, but you talk about anointing, and it makes it more sacred. And yeah, we bring back a little bit of mindfulness, bit of ritual honoring of the self, which I think is also, you make it, sound so beautiful. I love, of course, it's a blessing. Of course, and what a simple way to bring a blessing into our lives without having to make a big palaver out of it. I call them the yoga in a bottle, because sometimes if I don't have time to do a yoga practice or something for body and mind and spirit, at least I've got an oil, right? So I can just plonk it on or splash it somewhere. And it's like, right, tick, 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 body, mind, spirit, done, done, done. It's doing it all for me, and as I look after the kids or cook dinner or whatever. So
it's such a beautiful way to start each day. So I love getting up early every morning. I'll often get up between 4 and 5 of the morning before the world wakes up. And it's such a magical time. And, you know, one of my rituals there is to hydrate myself really well. So I'll drink a litre of water. I'm actually doing the red drink challenge at the moment, which is, you got your red drink there?
Yes.
So delicious. So it's 30 mils of Ningxia Red, and 3 drops of lime oil and 3 capsules of sulfazyme opened up and sprinkled into the Ningxia Red and topped up with water, and that's in a 750 ml bottle. And I'm loving that. So I'll kickstart my day with that hydration, with the oils in it. Obviously, you know, in Europe, it's going to be lime plus oil. You do have lime plus oil there, is that right?
I know we've got citrus fresh plus and lemon plus.
Hopefully you've got lime plus as well. So yeah, just with your lime plus oil in there. And so I hydrate myself first, and then I go and sit and I do a meditation and I anoint myself with oils. And that's a beautiful way of just bringing myself into as grounded and present a state as possible, to then go and focus on my day. And I find that it's not that I'm perfect and every single day I do it. There's occasions where my day gets railroaded and doesn't quite go to plan. But I notice that the days that I do that, which is, you know, would be at least 5 out of 7 days, I just feel like I've really given to myself first before I've given to others. You know, I feel like I've filled my own cup first by doing that process. And I think that's so important nowadays. Like there's so many people around us that are all crying for their own level of support and help. And it's just beautifully important to look after ourselves first. I'm grinning because I'm looking out my window here and I've got a bird just getting so excited in a bird bath. Yeah. It's just coming on to dusk. You might see it looking a little dark here, and you know, this beautiful little honey eater is just having so much fun outside my window.
Oh, you live in a sanctuary.
I do.
Like, with all, and they would also, I'm sure, be attracted to. I was reading your blog post about was it a bandicoot that came to sit down next to you? And one of my other teachers in calligraphy yoga, he talks a lot about, you know, when your energy, you know, when you have got a high energy or high, he talks about chi, and it's be the same high vibrational frequency, because the animals will come close, the birds will come close. And that's also what I guess that's also why the oils work with why animals are so attracted to these oils, because they have this energy. Or you're seeing, if I try and come back to my list, I mean, it's fantastic because you're touching upon everything that I want to ask you about. What is it about Young Living? What do you think it is about Young Living that makes them so special? What makes Young Living different to anything else?
It's their production process. Actually, it's more than that. It began with Gary's intention that came into the oils, because Gary Young, the founder of Young Living, who's now passed over, in fact, he passed over 2 years ago now. he had had a life-changing experience with really high quality essential oils, and he wanted to produce essential oils that were the best that the world had ever seen, to be able to help God's children all over the world to be able to access something that could help them. And it was that absolutely clear intention that dictated then everything that came next. And so Gary was absolutely passionate about every step in the production process. And fortunately, he'd had enough time on the planet with us that he had infused his passion into the many people that follow him. And that includes not just members like myself, passionate oilers, but all of his staff members. And so I guess when I, backtracking a little bit, when I had that experience, my first experience with essential oils from Young Living, and I could see that they worked faster, like much faster, much more effectively than anything I'd ever seen, I wanted to understand why. So I traveled the world and I followed Gary around, and I could see it was the attention to detail in every aspect of the care for the plant, the timing of the harvesting, the temperature and distillation methods, and how long he was going to cook the oil for or distill the oil for, so that he could make sure he kept all the fingerprint there. And then it was post-production, it was all the testing process. And not to mention all the research that went into the plants. So one of the things that I often quote, because I think this is a really good explanation, cypress oil. So any essential oil will have lots of different constituents to it, often hundreds of constituents. And I'd say pretty much all other companies will cut corners in some way when they're producing the oil, because they want the main aromatic components to come out. They want it to smell nice. They want it to have some effectiveness, but they want to be commercially viable. And to produce an oil to retain the entire fingerprint of chemical molecules, that is a really difficult thing to do, because it means you've got to use much lower cooking temperatures, so much lower distillation temperatures, so low temperature, low pressure. It means you've often got to cook longer. So for cypress oil, traditionally, you go to any other company, the standard for distilling cypress oil is 2¼ hours. But Gary wanted to really understand, was that the best that could be done? And so he started experimenting, and he discovered that if he distilled cypress for 24 hours, then in that last 20 minutes, 18 key constituents came out. So you distill for 23½ hours, you miss those. So Gary decided he would then be distilling cypress for 24 hours, because he's committed to capturing the magic that's in the plant. He's often said purpose over profit. So in many ways, that's insane, because from a commercial viewpoint, that means another company is probably doing 10 distillations worth in the time that Young Living does one. That's going to just make it more difficult to stay commercially viable. Yet for Gary's vision of what he wanted with these oils, that's what it has to be. And he never compromised. There was never a case of, no, look, let's just do 10 hours. That's good enough. Nothing was ever good enough for Gary other than perfection. And he sought that in so many different ways. And I loved his... Hello, Steve.
Oh, hello. Oh, hello.
Like, for a cuddle. It's your tail.
Oh.
Okay, so...
but that would also make it more sustainable as well. I mean, if you're banging out, a distillation, 10 times a day, where are you getting your raw material from? Right? It's not sustainable. I think you've been because I also remember you talk a lot of hearing you talk a lot about spikenard oil, which isn't available anymore. And I've also read about, I think it was, you went looking for wild-crafted Helichrysum, and there's also the sandalwood oil, which is now being grown in Australia. So there's, you know, there has to be an attention to the sustainability of it. Because I mean, especially if it's from a tree, you know, takes years to grow.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess that's also what I get about, he was also a farmer, right? So he came, like Gary came from the soil, came from the earth.
That was so obvious with some of the questions he asked. So I remember being with him in Ecuador, and he had just discovered Dorado Azul. It was a weed in Ecuador. It didn't even have a botanical name, and he was given the blessing of being able to name it. And so he was wanting to understand how it would produce the best oil. So he had 3 fields side by side. One had 3-day-old growth, one had 4-week-old growth, and one had mature plants. And he was distilling from each field just to see which one gave him the better chemical profile. So which one was going to be better for us to use on our body. And when it came to Helichrysum, which you've already mentioned, you know, that with that one, he knew that Helichrysum, sorry, I'm getting claws in my he knew that Helichrysum oil or the Helichrysum plant loves rocky soil. Okay, so it's growing in Croatia on our farm there, and the soil's rocky. Sorry, cat hair going everywhere. The soil's rocky there, but Gary asked, but what size rocks does Helichrysum like? Who would have thought to ask that question? So he brings in a rock crusher, and he has 3 fields side by side, and each one, the rock has been crushed to different sizes. And he discovered that the Helichrysum thrives the most with the small rocks. And that's what then is going to give us a healthy, vibrant plant and the best essential oil. So now his farm in Ecuador, it's all the fields have a rock crusher go through before they get planted. So it's that level of attention to detail that, you know, there's lots of other farmers around the world producing aromatic plants and distilling for essential oils. But that level of questioning is that level of thinking outside the box. To me, that's the difference with Young Living.
Yep. And I also know that Gary, he says he said he wanted, his vision was to have these oils in every home. And why do you think they should be in every home? Why do you think everybody should have, I mean, you've also said like all your friends have got it in their life. Why should the whole world have this in their life?
Because we all want to be as light as we possibly can. We all want to be free of suffering on every level so that we can, you know, reach that point of divinity within ourselves, and these oils help us get there. So why wouldn't we want to share them and have every soul on the planet be touched by them?
There's so many times during this conversation that I've just had goosebumps, but this one I could just, it's like things just hearing you say that, just things just settled, just like I just dropped down into my heart, like, and it just is, there is so much heart. Like I remember my first real experience of the corporate side of Young Living when I went to the symposium up on the Gold Coast in 2017. And I was blown away. Like you feel it, regardless if you're a Young Living member or if you're part of the corporate team, there's just so much love. Like people actually, they care. And then when I went to convention the year after at the Global International Convention in Utah, like, and I tell this to everybody, I'd walk the hallways, you know, you're surrounded by thousands, you know, 35,000 people, and I was crying but it's just, you just felt safe and you felt like you could be open, and there's just so much love and caring and that energy that's in the air. Like it really is just this, there's so much beauty and love. And you see it from the people who work in corporate, and they care, like we've just experienced. And this last few weeks, helping another member who's moved countries, and people care. Like it's like, right, okay, it's not good enough, we're going to make it different. This has to be better. And when I first started with Young Living, I was like, oh, there's got to be a catch. There's got to be a catch. It can't, it can't be, this lovely. And it's like, wow, hang on. There's actually a company, there's actually somebody who's able to create a business, and there is no catch, and it is just this lovely. Like, I want to scream it from the rooftops, which is also why I've embarked on starting this series of interviews, because I want to reach out and connect with the community. I want the people who are part of the Young Living community already to, we're sitting all around the world, and especially these days where everyone's in isolation, that we're all so connected. Like and people are willing to help each other. People are there for each other. And for the people who aren't part of this community, I want them to understand how much love there is present. Like, and I don't know if it's because the vibration, the frequency of the oils just elevate people to that state of love, and they just are more caring, or does Young Living just attract the caring people? I don't know.
I've actually felt that it attracts people that have enormous hearts and that are out there doing great stuff in the world. And like you, Sidsel, when I started with Young Living, there was a part of me thinking, oh my God, these are so amazing. And I was waiting for my bubble to be burst. I was thinking, how could someone be like this amazing? And I was totally expecting that at some point I'd lose the shine off the Young Living, move on, and I'd get another tool. And it never happened, which to me is such a testament to how amazing they are.
Yes. Yeah, and I was listening to on the celebration, the recording of the celebration when you reached Royal Crown Diamond. I can't even remember who was saying, maybe it was you. Oh no, I've watched so many videos lately because I was so inspired by it, but it's another one it's on part of the symposium that was just, and Richard Bliss Brooke was saying, he comes with his equation about, why he decided to choose Young Living, and his first number is 1, because it's one family. It started by one guy, and then hearing Mary's story about how they got together and how they built this, and why they decided that they want the business structure, and that they wanted it to be network marketing. They wanted it to be a people-based business. And it's often this thing that gets a little bit of a raised eyebrows, like, it's what? It's but it makes complete and utter sense. They want the people, it's for people, it's for making people's lives better, and it's for people, and building love and building connection and building. And why would somebody standing in a shop be able to give you that feeling? And it was really interesting listening and watching the celebration video for you, because here, like, you got a real insight into part of your community. And how do you use, like, you've already mentioned your friends, and I've met Alison, who's also, who traveled with you when you came to Copenhagen. How do you use this community? How do you use, what does it mean to you to be in this?
That's actually an unusual one to answer because, you know, as you said, you've met Alison. She's a really close friend of mine. So we're talking to each other a few times a week, and it'll be an interspersion of chatting about something we've discovered with oils or something that might be happening in Young Living as a business, and then other personal things as well. So I find that the conversations about Young Living just really blend through those friendships. And I mean, I do a lot of things on my own. I tend to fly solo a lot, and it's so beautiful to know that at any time I really need to talk to someone, I can ring up pretty much anyone in Young Living, and I know they'd be on the same wavelength as me. I know that they'd listen. I know that we could have a beautiful conversation. So, you know, to me, that's Young Living's like my extended family, including my real family, who is also my extended family.
Yeah, it's because it's pretty, I mean, I moved to Denmark, and I think through you was put in touch with with the community in Denmark. But I also reached out before I knew, this is years ago, before I moved back to Denmark. And I just Googled, you know, Young Living Oils in Denmark, and found somebody. And on one of my summer holidays here, we connected and we spoke for 2 hours. And people, again, and we're still in touch and aren't related in teams or anything like that, but just because we're part of the community and everybody wants to help. The wonderful oilers that you introduced me to, Karina and Jeanette and Jimmy, and they have also been so warm and welcoming. And it just is, it's like, okay, it's like, welcome to the family. It is just an extended family of how many millions in this family now?
I've lost count. I think it was 4 million when I last heard. So
it's fantastic. Well, thank you so much. I know that you are a very, very busy lady. Thank you so much, and also for so quickly making yourself available. I have really enjoyed myself, and I look forward to reconnecting across the ether and the web waves. And I will leave you to your cats and dinner time and stress away me time.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sidsel.
Thank you so much.